Hi, Nonnie T here with some more writing tips to help you live what you love. The most important thing a writer can do is write. But whether it's the busyness of family life, the lack of a deadline, or even just that little voice in your head that says, "Who do you think you are?" The fact is, this is one of the hardest things that every writer faces, especially an aspiring amateur writer. Today, I'm going to give you 8 writing hacks. These are things that are going to help you get writing and stay writing. It's not about writing advice. It's not about how to think about writing or how to edit. Simply, we're going to stick to how to get you writing and how to keep you writing. Number 1, find the right time and place to accomplish your best writing. This is often a lot easier than it sounds. Right now, I have my whole office. It's very cozy for me. It's set up to do exactly what I need. I've got my mug of pens and my extra glasses. I have a place for my tea. All in all, it's a pretty sweet setup for me right now. But I haven't always had that. As a matter of fact, when I first started writing, I literally wrote in the front seat of my car. I wrote in my bed. Out on the patio and the balcony became one of my favorite places to write. I actually had a table set up out there, lamps and lights so that I could work at night out on my balcony. And in the wintertime, because it gets pretty cold and snowy in the wintertime in Colorado, I literally purchased a tent and set it up on my patio so that I could put a chair in there and my little desk and go write out on my patio. But I mean, you can put a beanbag in your laundry room. You just need to find a space that's your own, and as much as possible, keep using that kind of space. Now, if you're struggling to find the right time to write, that can be a real problem. But here's some things that I did. Writing at night was actually the best for me. I love writing at night, into the wee hours. If I couldn't stay up late, I would try and get up early. That was usually something that I could do around my work schedule. So 4 a.m., the witching hour, that is a fabulous time for writing. There's something about writing groggy that just really seems to bring out the creativity. I'm too tired to censor myself. I'm not sure what it is in a fanciful way. I would just say that the muse is more up and about at that time of day. And you know, there's a lot of people who swear by this. Quite honestly, getting up early in the morning to read my textbooks when I was in college was the only way I passed calculus. And I do mean barely passed. I'm not really great with math. But by all means, you know, when you get up in the morning, go brush your teeth, grab your caffeine of choice, and get writing. And don't forget to brush your teeth. Whatever you do, don't bring your distractions with you. You're going to want to isolate yourself from the internet in whatever way works best for you. I know there are software applications out there for that express purpose, and we'll go over those in a future video. I can tell you what worked best for me is just using a notebook and a pen. I am currently using the software called Nebo. It is the best handwriting recognition that I have found, at least in the Apple ecosphere up to this point. It has great handwriting recognition, so I use that and my Apple Pencil and go to work. I'll let you know if that works as well as the notebook and the pen for me. But one of the greatest things about it is that it really kind of focuses me more on my writing. I'm less likely to be distracted, particularly if I put my iPad in airplane mode, which I would recommend that you do. Another thing I'd recommend is putting your phone in another room. It has beeped at me several times today because I didn't silence it, and it is here in the room with me. I will say that some people go as far as actually turning off or unplugging their internet. I've never had to go that far, but if you have to do that, do that. Whatever you can do to get away from the distractions. Get away from the family, get away from your roommates, get away from whatever it is that's going to distract you from your writing. If you are at home, go out. Go sit in your car. Go sit in the garage. Go to a library. Go to Starbucks. The reason you hear so much about people writing at Barnes & Noble or Starbucks is because generally they're not distracted by the noise because it's not their noise. They don't have to do anything about it. But give it a thought. Whatever works for you. get away from those distractions. Next, don't forget to entice that muse. A little fanciful term here, but what we're talking about is awakening that creativity in yourself. And oftentimes, this is done by using routine. If you can start doing the same things at the same time, it will actually key up your brain to go into a certain kind of mode that is likely to spark your creativity. It can be anything from just sitting in your favorite chair, making sure that your favorite cup is nearby. Some people light a candle before they begin to write. Doing things in the same order, like if you're shutting off your internet or putting on a software program that enables you to block out everything else. Just try and ritualize the process that you go through before you write. And over time, that will help your brain sort of kick into high gear, and it will know, no, this is not time for other things. This is time for writing. This is the time I get to open up and play. Now, I've heard this quote, and I've seen it attributed to more than one person. I believe that it was by Terry Pratchett, who said, the first draft is just telling yourself the story. Now, if he was quoting someone else, apologies. But I really think that's a great way of thinking about your first draft. So the thing I want you to know is don't give it your all. This is your first draft. This is not where you give it your all. I'd say 80% at most. The point is to get through your story. You're not looking for perfection. So as you go along, if you get stuck on things, just put in placeholders. Change it to a different color, or if you're handwriting, put it all in capitals. Underline it so that you know that when you come back to it, this is something that you'll have to take care of later. But keep on going with the story the way that it unfolds in your mind. You can always fix that in editing. You can fix anything in editing. Leave yourself some placeholders, come back to it later. Do not give your all in your first draft. So let's talk about sprints. If you've ever done NaNoWriMo, you've probably heard of word sprints. That's what they call them over there. You can also find them as writing sprints. Basically, these are ways to get you to write as fast as you can, concentrating on your word count. Just write whatever comes out of your pen for a certain amount of time. It's best if you do this with a timer and competitively. This would be one of those times when you actually involve social media in getting you to write. If you go on Twitter and use the hashtag amwriting and writing sprint or word sprint, you should be able to find someone who will compete with you to see which of you can get the most words completed in that short, tiny piece of time. The competitiveness kind of helps you stick to your goal. If you don't want to go on Twitter to do that, you can always use some kind of a timer. Your phone is a fine timer, but make sure that you turn it over and stick it somewhere else in the room so you're not constantly checking the time. The point is to put your pen to the paper or your fingers on the keyboard and just keep going. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry about misspellings. Don't worry about whether or not it even makes sense to what happened in the last chapter. The point of the writing sprint is to just go, go, go. What I found on Twitter is that people who use the hashtag writing prompt, their sprints were a little bit longer, in the 1 or 2 hour range, 30 minutes maybe. But if you want to do it in shorter bursts of time, which frankly worked better for me, use the prompt word sprint, and you will normally attract people who are looking to do a 15 or 20 minute sprint. Most of the hacks that I'm sharing with you today are pretty obvious. You've probably heard of them if you've been playing with this writing stuff for any length of time. This one is really no different. You would have probably seen this in every movie. Even as a child, you would know this. Writers carry notebooks with them wherever they go. Now for me, I tried the carrying my notebook with me everywhere I went, which worked fine while I was in school. The best thing I have found is I have my phone with me at all times. And I can either dictate, if there's no one else around, I can just dictate right into the notes application, or I can just try and keep a stylus with me. If I keep a stylus with me, I can write in my Apple Notes app. I can just handwrite it, jot it down without having to worry about the silly tiny little keyboard. Research. Don't be doing your research when you're supposed to be writing. Because if you're researching, you're not writing. A good way to do research is either to do it before you even begin your book, so you have some of the key components that you're going to be using to tell your story. This can be rather difficult for people who are what they call pantsers, people who write by the seat of their pants without an outline. You might not know what research you need ahead of time, but in either case, if you bump up across that as you're writing, just put in some kind of placeholder and come back to it later. Writing time is not research time. Saying, oh, I'll just jump online and look up this one tiny little thing. No, it breaks your whole flow. Don't do that. Now, before you stop for the day, there's one last thing that you should do. This is my last writing hack for you today. When you're done writing for the day, or for the session that you're in, write down what comes next. I think was Hemingway who always said that you should stop writing in the middle of a sentence so that you would have a place to pick up right away. That doesn't work for me. I just can't do that. I need the period at the end of the sentence in order to be able to go on with my life. But that's just me. If you can stop in the middle of a sentence and that works for you, please go right ahead. My recommendation, however, would be just to jot down what you know about what comes next. If you're writing in the middle of the night, as I often did, you feel like you want to go on and on and on if you're on a roll. What helped me was actually jotting down, without all the detail, just jotting down some quick ideas about where I knew I was heading with this story before I quit writing for the night. You've probably heard of the goal, motivation, and conflict, and possibly disaster method of plotting out your scenes if you're at all dealing with plotting. But even if you're not, let me just tell you this one sentence method. In your one sentence, you want to describe whose point of view the scene or the chapter is being told from. The other thing that you want to describe in that sentence is what is their goal for the chapter and what conflict are they facing. And I would usually just leave off the disaster when I'm looking at what's coming next. So whose point of view are you in? What are they going to be aiming to achieve as you're going forward? And what conflict do you see coming up? Just jot those down for your next scene or two, however far ahead you're visioning before you're done with the day, and you'll be able to jump right in again the next day. And that's it. I hope you found these tips helpful. I have some more. I have a whole slew of them that I will get to in another video. If you did like this, if you found it helpful, if you'd like to get some more of these kind of tips, please consider subscribing and click the little notification bell that's down there somewhere. That'll let you know when I do post another video. I am aiming for at least once a week right now, but this is all too new to me. So as you can see, I was a little late this week. Hopefully we'll do better next time. Thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing. You have a beautiful day and keep living what you love.